Konnichiwa, and welcome to the Samurai Way, the podcast where we dive into the wisdom of the samurai, the art of Japanese living, and the philosophies that help us live with purpose and perseverance. I'm Lori Sagawa, and whether you're here to explore Bushido, the samurai, uncover the meaning of ikigai, or just looking for a little extra ganbaru, never give up spirit in your daily life, you're in the right place. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's walk this path together. Are you ready? Let's begin. Well, konnichiwa, minasan. Hello, everyone. I am Lori Sagawa, the host of the Samurai Way podcast. Today, we have a wonderful guest that I'm going to give you his introduction, and we'll introduce him shortly. Patrick Dean is an international master coach and trainer, business owner, speaker, and seminar leader with over 35 years of experience in execution leadership, coaching, and transformational training. And as a co-founder and president of Seminar Systems and Patrick Dean Coaching, he has worked with more than 40,000 individuals across the globe, including executives, entrepreneurs, managers, and teams, helping them unlock leadership potential, drive, and results. Create meaningful change. Patrick's work centers around executive and personal business coaching. He's used the samurai context from his work in Japan and is one of the few certified leaders of the samurai game. His leadership programs have been delivered in the US, Australia, Mexico, Japan, Peru, Norway, Sweden, and the Philippines. And he holds a BA from California State University, San Diego, a master's in psychotherapy from National University, and he's also the author of several books, including The Journey, Love Made Visible, Volumes 1 and 2, and Warrior Codes, The Master and the Apprentice. So please help me welcome Patrick Dean. Well, hello, Patrick.
Yes.
Would you like to just share a little bit with the audience about your journey and how you got to where you are now?
Absolutely. I'd love to. I was living in San Diego and I was doing some work down there, and it wasn't very satisfying work, although it paid well. And I was involved in a large corporation in San Diego. And one time, one of my employees came by and they told me that they had taken a seminar. And the seminar was a life-changing and kind of a breakthrough seminar. And they said it was amazing. And so I actually took a risk and did this training. And when I did the training, I had an amazing experience that moved me forward and woke me up. And I was really glad I took that training. And at the time of the company I was working with, I was an HR manager, and I brought in this training into our company, and we started doing this training for a large number of people because I found so much value in it. I knew that it would be good for managers and people working with people. So that's kind of my start of the journey, and I've worked all over the world, as you said. I owned a company with several partners, and for quite a long time, that we did trainings and seminars for both businesses and a lot of trainings for the general public. And so I have quite a bit of experience listening to people and being around people, and I consider myself just kind of a lifetime learner. And I love the conversations and learning from people, as well as being able to contribute something because of my experience.
Well, great. We'd like to know what initially drew you into that Japanese philosophy and the samurai way of being. If you could expand on that a bit more.
Yes, well, as a designer of training, I was working in Japan, and I noticed that there was a difference in experience with the culture over there and how people saw things. And I started to become a student of the whole samurai and Japanese culture and go more deeply into it. And then I got some training here in the States around some martial arts called Aikido and some other things that had a samurai origin. Then I became trained to do something called it's a live action role play game that you mentioned called the Samurai Game. And the Samurai Game is an incredibly challenging game in which all the participants take on the spirit of the samurai, and we have contests in the
Mhm.
room and with people, and it's really very powerful in the samurai spirit. And so my study has been around that. My study has been around what really creates happiness and joy with people. And there's a lot of stuff in working with samurai or working with Japanese culture that we can integrate into our experience here in a Western environment. So I think there's much to learn from each other. And I love integrating that into the work I do. It's people love it.
So, how would you describe the core difference between the Japanese way of being and the Western approach to life? And as an
Uh,
approach, you
I
call
can
this the game. This is it in the game of life.
Well, let's start there. That's a good one.
Yes.
And so I think there's an explanation in this kind of the story. So uh, this is about an experience. So I had this experience actually at the time I was surfing, and I came back on the beach, and I was sitting on the beach, and the sun was setting, and I had this an amazing experience of well-being and peace that occurred for me. And I was thinking, what is it that I'm doing here that created that experience? It was very different for me because I was very much into training and into the businesses and into working with people on being more successful. But I found that this experience was very powerful, and it connected with the experience of being in the Japanese culture in this way. That experience happened in the moment. It happened in the moment of experience, and it happened right there. And it was something I spent a lot of time in the future. I spent a lot of my time thinking about the future. I don't know if your listeners here can relate to this. A lot of time in the future, and a lot of time too thinking about the past or being engaged in the past. So I've got this stuff past, and I've got this stuff from the future, and kind of living in these two places. And it was really different to have this experience of being present in the moment. And I call the experience, and as I've worked on it with hundreds and hundreds of people, I call that experience, this is it, because there's really no words to describe it, but this is it. This is the moment. Now, the words themselves don't really describe the feeling. And if your listeners can go to a place in their life at one time in their life where they had that experience of peace, you will notice that experience goes away. Right, Lori? So it's amazing experience, but it dissipates itself. Now, being the kind of person I am and wanting to master stuff, I was thinking, okay, how can I recreate this experience being in the moment? So the first thing I did, being Western in the way I think, I looked around and I go, it must be the environment. It must be the fact that I'm at the beach, or it must be the fact that there's a sunset, or it must be something that's there that's causing this experience to happen. So I show up at the beach the next day and sitting there in the sand watching the sunset going, I know I want to feel this. Come on, what's going on here? I'm not feeling the same as I was. Can you relate to what I'm saying? It's just
Yes.
like I really wanted to own it. I wanted to control it. But this is it is actually it's actually occurs when you're not controlling stuff.
Yes.
This is it occurs when you're able to really be present. And I think in the culture, in the experience, in samurai and all, there are moments where talking a great deal about this is it, being in the moment of experience and having a moment of experience. So I was trying to control this thing, but it was actually occurring it was occurring in a way that I removed things that I was thinking about. I removed stuff. And that removal allowed me to be more in the moment of experience. I don't know. It's very hard to describe, but I think everybody's had at least a moment of that experience.
And
And
you also talked about how the samurai place so much importance on the present moment. Would you like to explain about that?
let's talk about one thing that I learned or have had an experience of, and it's called in the Japanese, it's called ichi iso, which excuse me for my pronunciation and whatever. I'm not great at that, but that experience is called one lifetime. And what that experience is about is described as living your full life in one day. So when you
Mm,
raise up in the morning, it's like when you get up in the morning, it's like being born, and then you live your day out, and then going to bed at night is like dying. And the purpose, I think, of that experience or what it creates is if we live that way, we live a more passionate experience of our life. We live
mm,
a more engaged experience because it's a day, it's a lifetime in a day. And I love that experience and I love that idea. And that is more bringing me back to this is it. And like in conversation with you, in talking to the listeners, is just being here. And so the meditative aspects of the whole thing, very, very Japanese, to notice what's around you instead of just being tied up with all this past and future and worrying about stuff. So it's a practice letting go, but being very present with what you're doing. And it ties in also, Lori, with something else interesting, which is called the sacred moment, the unrepeatable moment, the sacred moment,
yes.
which is, as you probably know, the each person you meet, each time you're with people, each time that you're spending time, that moment will never be repeated. That moment is not repeatable. So you may meet with the same people the next day. So you're with some friends and you have a great time and you meet with them. But that meeting is over and it will never be reproduced the same way. So it's each time is different. So I think from an Eastern perspective, that is really about honoring the preciousness of the moment. And that, of course, comes from samurai, which they were prepared to go to battle and prepared themselves. They knew that an outcome of the battle could be their death.
Yes.
They didn't seek it out or anything like that. They were fierce in battle, but they knew that there was a beginning, middle, and an end.
Yes.
And I think that that's an Asian, in a way, Asian idea we can start integrating into our own experience.
So would you say that being in the moment actually helps us achieve our goals? Or can you explain how presence and performance can work together?
That's a great question. So, as I've taught for years and years, every coin has two sides. So, one side of this coin is this is it. It's taking the breath, being in the moment, it's being present. Just just the pleasure of that, the experience of that. Now, the other side of the coin, I call the game of life. And the game of life is more, better, and different. So the second side of the coin is called more, better, and different. That means that you're out there trying to create more. So you're going for the bigger house, you're going for more money, you want to be successful, you want to have a great relationship, you want a great vacation, you want to do stuff. So you're out there creating, and that's called the game. So what you're asking is about the game. So we're all kind of in the game. And the thing about the game is you can play it better if you've also mastered the moment. It's almost like a paradox. But if you're going to be a good samurai, you got to be able to handle paradox.
All right. How would you say that life looks different when someone can be deeply present and fully engaged?
That's a good one too. That has been when I'm working with true entrepreneurs with high intentionality to create the game. But you can also see that their passion is in the moment. So the integration of the game, and this is it, starts with your process of mastery. So if you want to master something, you start in and you're not great at it, but you have the discipline to keep going and get better at it. When it's this is what my mentor George Leonard told me, who wrote a book about samurai. He said that mastery is the understanding of the joy of the journey of the practice. So I've been working with some professional athletes, and they want to win, and the goal is a win, and and but they miss that they're very hard on themselves, and that takes away from their game because they're going through this process of why did I do that or what. It's in golf. Golf is a game of misses, and um, so being more in the moment, these athletes are more successful being able to take each shot one moment at a time, one experience of a time at a time. You know, in the game of golf, Tiger Woods had something called the seven steps. And the seven steps were if he hit a bad shot, complain and moan and be hard on himself for seven steps. And then on the eighth step, he's into the next shot,
Hmm.
totally engaged in the next shot. That's a sports example. But
Mhm.
that I think is the integration of it. It's loving the game, not just for what you get, not just for the win, not just for the end result, the more money, the car, the relationship, all that stuff's great. I love it. I don't mind playing the game at all. But playing the game present allows you to have better days instead of telling yourself, I'm going to really feel good when I get this goal, which is fine. That's gratification. But it's not the same as being really present as you go along when it is tough or it is hard or it is difficult. But you begin to love the practice and the discipline within yourself.
Mhm.
Very samurai.
So many examples with life and sports, that type of thing, because if you're always striving, always
Mhm.
wanting more, and you're never good enough, or always, just one more thing, one more shot, one more client or whatever, you just need to, like you say, enjoy the moment. You won't be
Mhm.
able to appreciate the fruit unless you just enjoy the ride. Have you ever heard
Yeah,
that expression?
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. If you're going to the gym because you made a promise to yourself to go to the gym and you set yourself up and you just willpower it out. So you want to you're going to go 1 month straight. You're going to go every day. Then you gut it out. That's called willpower, and you can do it. But the practice, the people that I know that are into mastery actually love going to the gym. They're great with the end result, and that's what we try to get. But they're actually starting to love the practice itself. That's the difference between mastery and being a beginner, from my point of view.
Kind of like parenting. You enjoy it. Thank
So
goodness
tell me
your
what you mean by
child
that.
isn't, yeah, thank goodness they don't crawl the rest of their lives, but they learn too. And we are patient with them, right?
Absolutely. And I think if you want to just children, that was awesome you bring that up because children have an automatic ability to focus sometimes. A lot of times they're all over the place. But children have a real ability to put themselves 100% into what they're doing in that moment, whether it's coloring or doing something or putting together a puzzle or doing something. They have a passion doing that. And for some reason, as adults, we kind of work our way out of that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? We get
that's
more worried about how we look, or I don't want to try something different because I'm not going to look good doing it, or I don't ever want to do anything that I don't have a mastery of doing. That's kind of a small experience from my point of view.
Life is a journey, isn't it?
It's a wild one too. And you can put it into motion. And my experience has been it's going to turn out different than you think. There's no perfect. The samurai work for perfection, but never expect it.
Right.
So you're working for mastery, but you might as well have some joy along the way.
That's right. Well, Patrick, you've given us so much wisdom today, and I've just enjoyed all the points that we went over about the Japanese way of being, and
Mhm.
this is it. And
And the
this is
game.
why, right, why the samurai place so much importance on the present moment and honoring the moments so much for personal mastery. Because if you go by them and you're always striving, you miss the ride, right? And the game of life he shared with us about, and there's so a difference between the Western way of looking at it and the Eastern way. And I live in both worlds because I am American, but I'm also very
Uh,
Eastern up here, very Japanese. So I go to Japan anytime I can. I love Japan and
uh,
striving for the moment and learning so much from athletes. Patrick, you've given us so much, and I love the samurai wisdom that you've been sharing. And I don't know if I mentioned that I met Patrick, decades ago through the Clever workshops. And Patrick was the one that brought the red black game, if you're familiar with that, to Clever's training. So, is there anything that you would like to share with the audience before we leave? And maybe one thing that you could share about your personal legacy and what you'd like to leave behind as your to be known for.
I would like to share, in these times, I'd like to share a story.
Okay.
And it pertains to the way things are going with the separation that we have going on and some of the chaos and all this stuff going on. And I wanted to share a story. It's from Suzuki Roshi, in Beginner's Mind. And it's about the time that he visited California and he went to Yosemite National Park. And there's a place in Yosemite where you can pull over a car, you can stand out on this kind of viewpoint, and you can see a whole bunch of waterfalls at the same time. Yosemite is an amazing place. So he was looking at those waterfalls and he turned to the people that were with him and he said, look at a waterfall. He says, that waterfall is just like life. And he said that we flow together in this stream. And then we go over the edge. And the going over the edge is like being born. And in the process, we're separated into millions and millions of tiny drops. Then at the end of our life, he said, we join together and flow on as a river. And he was
Mm,
saying that so much of the pain in life is that we think because we're millions and millions of drops that we're somehow separate from each other. That he said we forget the source and that we're all separate. But he said in actuality, we're all connected. And he said that at the bottom of a waterfall, you can see the mist. And that mist is sometimes has a rainbow in it because of the sun. And he said it's the separate people and personalities that contribute to the rainbow, contribute to the
mm.
beauty of life. And he said we should celebrate that, but never forget that we're connected.
That's right. We
So
are connected.
I think that's kind of if any of the listeners are in some of that conflict and stuff that's going on and stuff. First thing is don't worry, and second thing is remember we're all connected.
That's one thing that Clemmer, I think it was in Clemmer, they showed how the island is up and then goes underneath and then it comes back again, but we're all connected. We don't
Mhm.
realize that.
We don't, and it's been my experience with people all over the world. Every culture has something to contribute. Every
Yes.
culture is interesting.
Well,
However, in my training, it's really about breaking through to what you want to accomplish or create or design in your life. It's about the confidence to do that. And the deeper I get in every conversation, the more we're the same. So I've had opportunities to teach in Islamic universities. I've taught in monasteries. I've taught in schools. I've taught in businesses. I've taught all over the world. And the deeper I get, Laura, you would be surprised at how, with cultural differences, are more surface. As human beings, we're kind of the same.
They are kind of the same.
I think so.
Well, it's been wonderful having you. And I also, actually, this whole interview kind of reminded me that I haven't seen, well, you were interviewed about 6 months ago, but prior to that, we hadn't seen each other, but we connected on LinkedIn, and it's like we joined back together again. I'm glad you're part of this podcast and this community and sharing your samurai wisdom with the people, our audience. And I love it. So thank you, Sir Patrick, so much for all of this, Patrick.
Well, thank you for very much for having me. And I love talking to you. You're such a great interviewer and such a great conversation. And I look forward to any way that I can support you. It's awesome because I know you're doing the work of creating connection between people.
Well, thank you. So I would like to say that this is a wrap. I hope you've enjoyed it. So please subscribe, like, and share this podcast so we can elevate other people and help them and encourage them in the samurai way. So that's a wrap for tonight. And that's a wrap for today's episode, The Samurai Way. I hope you found a little inspiration, a new perspective, or just something to reflect upon as you go about your day. Now remember, the samurai spirit isn't just about history. It's about how you show up, face challenges, and live with purpose. Whether it's ikigai guiding your path or a little extra ganbaru pushing you forward, keep walking strong. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, share, or leave a review. It really helps. And if you've got some thoughts, questions, or you just want to connect, just contact me. So until next time, stay focused, stay determined, and keep living with purpose. Mata ne.